The Magic Bicycle. A Tale from the Times of the Plague. Written by Luis Serna.
It was a time when closeness became dangerous and distance a virtue. The world kept turning, but it had no mercy. Choices weren't made. They were a necessity.
In a factory, the shift was ending. A foreman pressed a red button. The loud machines slowed to a halt. And silence fell. Then he spoke. Machines off, immediately. Listen to me. We have always worked shoulder to shoulder. We sweated together. But that is over now. In this hall, the air is still. The virus, it loves this stagnant air. If one of you coughs, it spreads like invisible dust. No product is as important as your lungs. Go out into the fresh air. The factory is closed as of today. At the university, an old professor closed his book with a loud thud. He said to his students, "Pack your books, the semester is over. Not because we are finished, but because we breathe. Look at this room. The windows are closed. The air, it doesn't move. We sit here sharing oxygen, but starting today, we might be sharing death." Knowledge needs minds, but the virus needs bodies in closed spaces. Go home. Learn in front of a screen. It is too dangerous in here now. People were watching a movie at the cinema.
In a cinema, the lights suddenly flashed on, and the screen went black. A man stood at the front, squinting at the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, the show is canceled. Please stand up, look around. You are sitting too close to your neighbor, too close to me. This hall has no windows. The virus is trapped in here with us."
No film is worth this risk. The cinema is a place for dreams. But from today on, it is a place for infections. Go home. The cinema will remain dark. In a cafe, the chairs were already stacked on the tables. A waiter blocked the door to a guest. "We are closed." "No, not even for takeout." "Look how small this room is. You can't escape the breath of others here. Outside there is space, but inside here is a trap. Go home. Brew your own coffee. It's no longer safe here."
I was in great distress. The city lay under a dome of heat and disinfectants. People barricaded themselves in their homes like animals in a burrow. On the streets, a deceptive silence reigned, broken only by the wail of ambulances. A sound that had long since lost its terror and merely marked the rhythm of our dying. The university was a ghost house, its knowledge evaporated into a digital void. For one of my students, the final hour had arrived, an online exam, absurdly important amidst the collapse. I was called to help. The father's voice on the phone was not pleading, but demanding, squeezed by that panic that arises when one believes bureaucracy can stop death. The boy was on the brink of expulsion. And I was to save him, to refuel him with knowledge before the system spat him out.
Using my car was impossible. Fuel was rationed, and permits were opaque. Taxi drivers took no one. They saw every passenger as a messenger of the virus. Public transport had become a mere rumor. The way was too far to walk, yet too close to ignore. Only one means of transport remained, one that no one controlled, that needed no driver and required no contact. Despair was palpable, not loud, but as a silent mistrust. The dead were buried hastily, without ceremony, often at night, so as not to worry the neighbors. People feared corpses. They feared breath. They feared the sweat of others. Every human was a walking biological bomb. Some believed that death itself had become contagious, and even avoided the memory of it. The only way to reach the student was by bicycle, a walk through the minefield of a city that spied on its own inhabitants. Behind every half-closed shutter, one could feel eyes on them. Informants noted license plate numbers and times. To be outside was to be suspicious.
I went to get my bike from the cellar, but it was a wreck, eaten by the rust of inactivity. As I stepped back into the hallway, the door next door opened. Dr. Klein, my quiet colleague from the Romance Languages department. She wore a mask, and her eyes glistened feverishly above it. Seeing her made my heart beat, but it was a beat against a wall of glass. Once we would have touched. Now she recoiled as I stepped forward. The fear of touch was stronger than years of silent affection. These hygiene measures had trained our bodies faster than our thoughts.
For years, we lived next door to each other. For years, we drank the same thin coffee in the cafeteria. For years, I loved her in silence. We always had interesting conversations. She often explained the origins of many words we use every day, but don't know where they come from. How often had I rehearsed words? How often had I stood before her door, ready to knock, only to lower my hand again, paralyzed by academic shame and my own inertia. I had waited for a better moment, for a promotion, for a sign. An unforgivable negligence of the heart.
I have to go to a student's house. My bike is broken.
I told her.
My bike is in the basement.
Her voice was toneless, muffled by the fabric over her mouth. We descended. The cellar air was damp, smelling of mold and old fears.
I think it's down here.
Be careful.
Oh no, my bike, it's wrecked.
What happened here?
It's no use. Nothing can be done.
Her bike was there, a picture of misery, both tires shredded. Lost, she whispered. In these times, a broken bike meant imprisonment.
From the darkest corner, behind the boilers, the janitor emerged, a giant man in dirty overalls. He was sweating. His bare, damp skin felt obscene, almost violent in this sterile age. He looked at me as if everything had already been decided. "That old thing is junk," he said, "but I have something better for the professor. Direct from Shenzhen, latest technology." He pulled aside a tarp. Beneath it stood a bicycle of black mirroring metal, covered in red Chinese characters that seemed to pulse in the gloom. It had no visible motor, yet a deep electric hum radiated from it, the sound of a biblical plague.
Mount off!
The janitor said. I hesitated, but duty called. I sat on the saddle. The hum crawled up my spine.
The professor rides the dragon!
A guttural sound. And he reached for Dr. Klein. He grabbed her wrist. Skin on skin. She screamed, not in pain, but in disgust and mortal fear of the unprotected touch. I saw her look. She wasn't pleading for love. She was pleading for hygiene, for distance, for rescue from contamination. "Stop!" I shouted.
I wanted to save her, disinfect her, and take her away.
But the bike knew no mercy. It shot forward, driven by an alien energy. I heard the cellar door splinter, and the scream of my colleague, lost in the noise of the wind. I left her in the darkness, in the hands of that unashamed brute.
Once the ride began, there was no stopping. I didn't pedal. I was being driven. The wind cut my face. The bike avoided all restricted zones. I was a prisoner on an iron demon. The city was dead, streets empty, bleached by the sun. Shops were boarded up, with bankrupt or infection smeared on the glass. Military posts stood at intersections. Faceless figures in hazmat suits, with rifles at the ready. But the bike was too fast. I was a ghost on a black machine, invisible and unstoppable. I saw people fighting over food, and body bags waiting on sidewalks. The devastation wasn't measured in rubble, but in the coldness of hearts. An ambulance was parked at the side of the street, with its door open. Men in protective suits loaded bodies in quickly, without a word. No one paused. A woman across the street held her breath until the ambulance drove off. Shopping bags lay neatly on the ground in front of a house, spaced apart. No one opened the door. Two men met on the sidewalk. They stopped, looked each other over, and involuntarily counted their steps. One stepped into the gutter. I rubbed my hands again. The smell of disinfectant clung to me like a second breath. The city wasn't destroyed. It was functioning. That was precisely what was unsettling.
Finally, the house. The bike stopped abruptly, as if it knew the address. The parents flung open the door. They wore gloves and protective masks. In their eyes, there was no hope, only the naked panic of social decline. The smell of chlorine cleaner hit me, acrid and sharp. "Time's ticking, let's go," the father yelled. The boy sat in front of the computer, like a condemned man before the scaffold. I sat down in the assigned chair, meticulously careful to maintain the prescribed distance. I desperately tried to give him an emergency mental transfusion across the distance between us. But I felt my words freeze halfway through. Filtered through masks, they reached him as empty shells. I talked at him, hammering formulas into the contaminated air. My hands smelling of disinfectant, even though I couldn't remember using it. Then, a moment of silence. The boy whispered his real problem to me. I never wanted to be an engineer. My dream was fine arts. But my parents forced me into this course of study. "We're both engineers," they said, "and we have a construction company you have to run." They drilled it into me that you can't make a living from art. He wasn't a student. He was an investment, a prisoner of their expectations. Then the exam began. The parents pushed me even further into a corner. From there, help was a farce. I had to spit solutions into the polluted air. From the corner, I bellowed my pronouncements across the room. I had to speak loudly and answer blindly, dependent on the boy's unclear reading. All I heard was the clicking of the mouse and the ticking of the clock. The electrical hum was there again. This time in my head. The boy typed, trembling. I thought of Dr. Klein. Was she infected? Had the janitor breathed on her? Then an uglier thought crept in. A jealousy that choked me. How far had he gone with her? Had that brute taken in the dark what I hadn't dared to ask for in years? My love had become a statistical probability, a risk of infection.
The exam ended. A loading bar crawled across the screen. Then, in giant red letters, the verdict: failed. The parents' faces hardened into hostility. I was now the intruder, the failure, the unnecessary risk. It's his fault. He's a fraud. They threw me out without a penny. The mother sprayed disinfectant at me as if I were vermin. I ran to the bike, wanting to return, to make amends. But the bike was dead. The battery was empty. And so I push. Step by painful step. Through the heat and dust. I am alone. A professor without teachings. A lover without courage. Exposed to the frost of human coldness. I push my burden through the plague. I know I will never see Dr. Klein again. In this time, there is no forgiveness and no second chance. My learned life and my unlived love are squandered.